It is Friday, April 3rd, 2026. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is not my man, Trevor Plouffe. That is my dude, Dalton Feely. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Feels getting the spot start. I love this, man. How are you?
Rosie, we're coming out of spring training. We're coming into a six-man rotation to begin the year. No Trev, no Jolly. My arm's loose. I might not go super deep into the game, but I'm ready to roll with you.
Okay, well, that's good. Usually you're the behind the scenes on Talking Baseball, the guy who puts together all of the research that we have here. And for people that have no idea what happens there, Dalton's got pages and pages. How long does it take you to put together like a typical, let's say, a Monday show after a weekend?
Too long. It takes up basically not the entire weekend, but close to it. Luckily, I have an intern usually that's helping me and crushing it too. But hey, we always provide as much as we can. We know it's not going to be used 100%, but we provide more, and you guys just crush it on air. So I'm excited to be on this side of the camera this time, and let's go. Let's talk some ball.
Well, let's be fair here. That research doesn't trickle over to this show. Maybe it does for Plouffe, but it doesn't make its way to Rose. I'm happy to, sign on to the extra email if need be, but some of us have to do our own, stuff. That's okay.
That's why you're the best in the biz, Rosie.
Not really. Not really. Just check my mentions. Tip of the cap. My gosh, was this fun. There were only 3 games because of a rainout on Thursday. One of the late night ones. I'm not sure if everybody saw this or not, but congratulations to Daniel Susac. And if the last name sounds familiar, that's because his brother was Buster Posey's backup on the 2014 World Series champion San Francisco Giants. That's his first AB. That's his first knock. And, of course, he's got like 30 family members and friends on hand. They're all high-five. And, this is like typical stuff. We see that. Well, guess what? He got a walk. He got another knock. He got a third knock on the night. And here's the reason it's the tip of the cap. Watch his nephew, who's in the middle of the screen getting thrown around like he is on some sort of amusement park ride and isn't tall enough to ride the ride. So the belt's a little loose. Let's zoom in on this, Danny. Look at this kid, Dalty.
I mean, you only get one MLB debut, Rosie, and for him to have, I believe, 3 hits and a walk, it's electric. Shout out to his entire family too. They get to enjoy his Susac's debut. I believe via Opta Stats, it's the first catcher to have 3 hits and a walk in their MLB debut since Mike Piazza. So that's pretty good company to be in. So congrats to the Susac family, congrats to Susac as well. Tip of the cap. What an MLB debut. Absolutely electric.
See, isn't this interesting? You go right to the research. I go right to the kid flopping around. Like, hey, let's do that. I mean, see, this is how dads think. We will have that video forever. And so whether I don't care, where his journey takes him in life, whether it's through baseball or somewhere else, like Darren Baker's most famous moment ever came at that field where he got dragged off by JT Snow in the 2002 World Series and got saved. And then Derek Baker eventually made it, to become a professional baseball player. So maybe we'll see Susac's nephew somewhere out there. It'll be fun.
If we do, 20 years down the road, it's going to be played just as much. You know it.
Well, we're going to start part of this show out by the Bay because a pair of NL East teams, they jump-started West Coast swings. We had the Braves out in Arizona taking it to your Diamondbacks 17-2. The Mets lose out in San Francisco. At least for the NL East participants, very different outcomes.
Matt Olson drives it out to center. Thomas is back. Is it above the yellow line? It is, and it's a solo homer for Matt Olson.
Jung-ho! And speared at first by Vientos, and he drops it. Here comes Chapman. Things are going right for the Giants tonight.
They sure were, Kipe, and they were going all wrong for the New York Mets, who fell to the basement in the National League East. They are 3-4. In the meantime, the Braves are off to a fast 5-2 start. So which one of those are you more surprised with? That Atlanta, with all of the injuries and the Profar situation, off to this quick 1-week start, or the Mets have been certainly a little sloppy out of the gate?
I think I'm a little bit more surprised with the Mets because the high expectations this New York Mets team had with all the changes they made this offseason, with the ins and outs of the entire roster. They've been struggling through the first week, Rosie. It's really bad. They were 0 for 29 in batting with runners in scoring position in the Cardinal series. They're currently 29th in baseball amongst all 6 games they've played batting with runners in scoring position. They're 25th in average, 25th in slugging. This offense has not gotten going yet. And quite frankly, it's been all of these guys that they've added onto this roster. Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette getting booed after his 3rd game in Queens. Like, it has not gone great for the New York Mets so far. I will say Juan Soto, that's the only bright side right now, 333, almost a 900 OPS so far. So he's getting going with this offense right now. But currently the concerns are some of these guys that have just come into the New York Mets organization struggling with the bats. We've seen it even with Francisco Lindor, who is basically the captain of the New York Mets. He's been struggling to open this year for the New York Mets. I think the lineup will get going. I think part of the reason why the Mets are struggling currently, though, is these guys like Bichette, Polanco, Brett Beatty even. They've changed positions. So this offseason, these are guys probably focusing on defense, changing positions, learning first base, learning third base, learning to be a super utility. And they're not really focusing as much on the hitting proportion in the offseason. Leans into the struggles in the early parts of the season. I'm a little concerned about the Mets. I think they could bounce back. They should bounce back. But through 6 games, this offense has been awful.
Yeah, I mean, we're 1 week in, so I don't really concern myself with a team like that struggling offensively. I thought that the concern for them would be defense, because they were moving guys around, guys in the corners who were playing positions that they're just not used to. But even in recent days, we've seen Lindor forget how many outs there are. Marcus Semien had trouble on a pop-up last night, which isn't the worst thing in the world. When you're playing a game out in San Francisco, those pop-ups can be brutal. If you ever talk to an infielder going back there, it's a nightmare and a half. So, guys who usually will either keep their head in a game like Lindor or make gold glove plays like Semien have not done that. And then we saw in the clip we just had kind of a poor toss by Vientos a little bit behind Peterson, and they allow another run to score. So they're just not buttoned up at this point. And the problem is that the longer that part of their game shows its face, the more it becomes a story with the New York media. They're like, okay, they went out, they've made all these wholesale changes in part to say, well, we've tried to clean things up inside the clubhouse. Well, if you're going to clean things up inside the clubhouse, it also has to translate on the field. And one thing that East Coast baseball fans will not put up with is sloppy baseball where you don't know how many outs there are.
Those are the mistakes that you can prevent, Rosie, like knowing the situation of baseball. I'm a nerd. I'm a stats guy. Like, that's the stuff that irritates me as a fan. It's like, pay attention to the game. You should know what's going on, knowing the situation at all times. Some of the physical stuff like the lineup, it should bounce back and prevail. I am curious to see with the subtraction of Pete Alonso to that lineup, will the power come from Soto and Lindor? Will somebody else contribute? Luis Robert Jr. is coming off to a hot start, so I'm excited to see what he could do for a full 2026 season within that lineup. But you're 100% Rosie. It's the first week. We shouldn't overreact. But again, I'm in New York right now. The New York media loves anytime there's drama, potential drama they could talk about within a baseball organization. The Mets should be fine, but this first week has been a stinker for them.
Yeah, but there's a reason I'm wearing a Braves cap today.
Oh.
And that is because sorry, dude. I mean, you know what? Sometimes it's good to get smacked around a little bit like the Diamondbacks did on Thursday night. Here's the reason that I'm impressed by them. Matt Olson did finally go deep last night, but, it's interesting guys doing the heavy lifting. First of all, Drake Baldwin's a stud.
Yeah.
That kid is awesome, and I'm happy to see him follow up his Rookie of the Year title with a really, really good first week out of the gate. But Dom Smith has gotten some big cuts for them. Mauricio Dubon has done a nice job filling in for Ha-Sung Kim, who, cut his hand in the offseason while slipping on the ice, whatever the hell that means. But Olson, that was his first homer. Acuna has yet to go deep. Austin Riley hasn't gone deep. So it's been some of the lesser-known guys. And then on top of that, the starting pitching has really been excellent at the top of this, all right? Chris Sale, a .75 ERA in his 2 starts. Ronaldo Lopez, they're praying that they can keep him healthy. He's had 2 good starts so far. Now, they've done all of this without Schwellenbach, Waldrop, who they hope to have back by the middle of the year, those 2. Strider, we don't know exactly when he's coming back, but hopefully it's soon. Sean Murphy is starting to get some AB, so you'll see his productive bat back in there. Ha-Sung Kim, they hope by May. And then, of course, they had to deal with the BS with the Profar stuff. So this team has already had to deal with injuries, with having to answer PED questions for the second straight year for one of their teammates. That shit can get old. At this time last year, we were like, are the Braves ever going to get a win? Right? Didn't they start 0-7 or whatever it was?
Yep, 100%. 0-7 start. It was very bad.
Yeah, and this is a little bit better at 5-2. And I just think it's nice. I'll get a chance to see them up close and personal next week for some content out in Anaheim. I imagine the vibes are much better. And, this is the team that banked big on just staying healthy and getting productivity out of the guys who returned to the lineup. So far, so good for the most part.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I've hung out with Jolly Olive a little bit too much. The Braves, he always talks about how the Braves are inevitable. They're so good. Like, this is a team that made the playoffs 7 straight years prior to 2025. Yep. Like, they're very well run. They just know how to win games. Last year was a little bit of a fluke year with all the injuries and stuff they were going through. It looks like the 2026 Braves are back to normal.
They are. We got a dozen home openers on the slate on Friday. A lot of day ball, so it's going to be great. One of those games, the Pirates welcoming Baltimore while also saying hello to baseball's top prospect. We told you at the top of yesterday's show that Konnor Griffin was getting promoted. 19 years old. He'll be their starting shortstop. And we wondered out loud whether or not this was going to go in conjunction with an extension. Well, boy, did it ever. A record for a player who had never put on a major league uniform. 9 years, $140 million. When you finally heard the numbers, did your tongue hit the floor?
Oh my gosh, yes, Rosie. I mean, come on, 9 for 140. We have not seen him play a game in MLB yet. Like, that is unbelievable. And it's a continuing trend of guys getting contracts with zero MLB service. We saw Colt Emerson. We saw Cooper Pratt earlier this week getting these deals as well. So it's jaw-dropping because I believe Konnor Griffin is making more than Emerson and Pratt's deal, or almost as much as Emerson and Pratt's deal combined. And he hasn't played yet. It's the first deal worth over $100 million for a player to not debut. Jaw-dropping for sure, but we know Konnor Griffin and his prowess. He is the top prospect in baseball for a reason. I'm super excited to watch him play. We get to see Konnor Griffin and Paul Skeens play baseball together, and that's going to be electric in Pittsburgh.
Look, it's, when you're taking in, there's a bunch of things you have to consider. We don't know what the economics of baseball are going to look like at this time next year. Right? Hopefully we don't have a work stoppage. We all feel like we're trending that direction. We don't know how far dug in deep the owners are in terms of a salary cap. We don't know all sorts of stuff. I think signing a guy to an extension like this makes total sense for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And some people would say, well, this is too risky. This is the richest deal they've ever given a player, ever. And they've had many established players come there. I mean, this blows Brian Reynolds' deal out of the water by about $40 million or whatever it is. They never entertained the idea of extending McCutchen to these sort of numbers. They got kind of a sweetheart deal in him as he was turning into an MVP player. But to me, this makes sense for a franchise that has made the playoffs 3 times in the last 33 years. That is, the minute Paul Skeens got up here, we started asking, well, how long is he actually going to be a Pittsburgh Pirate? And that's such BS. It's not fair to the fan base. I always talk about having jerseys that, mom and dad can buy their kids where the names are stitched in, not Velcroed on the back. Because that if they're Velcroed, at some point, those dudes are going to be leaving town either as a free agent after year 6, or you're going to trade them before they get to, those high money arbitration years. That's not going to happen with this kid. What it does is it gives them some hope. Is there inherent risk because it's $140 million guaranteed for a franchise that has never opened the piggy bank that much? Absolutely. But it's a risk when you have to go out and bring back your fan base and show them some love that you have to take.
Rosie, well said. And you said the biggest part of this. The Pirates don't spend money. They have been notoriously cheap for spending money for improving their baseball team. I mean, sure, there's inherent risk. Konnor Griffin has not played baseball in Major League yet, and he's making $140 million. That's jaw-dropping. But this is what we want the Pirates to be doing. We want them to spend money. We want them to make this roster better. I love it, Rosie. Like, sure, there's inherent risk, but Jeff Passan released an article of the most hyped prospects to debut since 2010. Some of the names on this list: Paul Skeens, Vlad Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Steven Strasburg. You know what they all have in common, Rosie? They had a major impact on the team right away. These guys were all studs. Konnor Griffin is going to be one of these dudes for the Pirates. And it's for an offense that has not been great over the last couple of years. Some stats, because I'm a nerd. Here we go. Pirates haven't had a 25 home run hitter since 2023. Last guy to do that was Jack Sawinski. Pirates haven't had a hitter with an 800 OPS since 2022. Brian Reynolds. The last player to hit 30 home runs, Josh Bell in 2019. Like, Konnor Griffin will be a major contributor to an offense that was 30th in basically every offensive category. We watch Paul Skeens pitch and we're like, why can't the Pirates get offense? But they trade for Ryan O'Hearn. I signed Ryan O'Hearn, excuse me. They signed Brandon Lau, or trade for Brandon Lau, mixing these guys up. Konnor Griffin gets called up. They're trying to make the product better, Rosie. I'm so excited. He's going to be the first teenage position player to debut since Juan Soto, I believe, back in 2018. But it's worth it. They sign him. There's risk. He's going to be a stud. I'm super excited for the Pirates because they're making their product better. It's just better for baseball when we're rewarding players that are going to be really good players in baseball.
Yeah, and Plouffe and I talked about this yesterday. I mean, there might be some struggles, and that's okay, right? He's 19 years old. This game is really, really hard, whether you're 19, 29, 33, and have won multiple MVPs. This is a very challenging sport. So I don't, like, is he going to flip the fortunes of this franchise overnight? I don't know. I think what it does is it puts more pressure on the Pirates to continue their spending like we saw in the offseason and make trades where they take on salary instead of dump salary. Like, it would just make sense that you are going to surround this guy with pieces that will hopefully have this franchise continue to ascend. Now, there's the other side of this discussion that I want to have as well, which is how confident are you that actually the Pirates can get somewhere? And we're not talking about maybe Griffin being the next Mike Trout.
Man, that's tough because we always wanted Mike Trout to be in the playoffs. Hasn't been there since 2014. At least for this year, I'm still a little pessimistic, even though I try to be a glass half filled guy. Like the NL Central, Milwaukee always finds a way. I hear Jake rant about it on Talking Baseball all the time, and he's right. The Cubs have gotten better. The Reds should be an intriguing team. The Cardinals are taking their first step back in a long time. I don't know if 2026 is the year for the Pirates, but they haven't won more than 82 games since I feel like 2013, 2014, when the last time they were in the playoffs. They've had losing seasons in 9 of the last 10 seasons. Like, they're going to be trending up. They're not going to be a playoff team this year, but there's going to be hope in Pittsburgh. We've been saying it, and the national media, national baseball fans have been saying it. We want the Pirates to continue to get better, to try and compete in the NL Central. I think by signing Konnor Griffin, they're showing, hey, we're at least attempting to surround Paul Skeens and the rest of the Pittsburgh Major League roster with solid talent. I think Pittsburgh, give it a couple years, and we'll see them back in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be a Mike Trout situation, but this NL Central is very tough, and I want to see them compete with Milwaukee and Chicago before we go any further with it.
Well, I don't think you can discuss it micro. I think you have to look at it macro because, believe it or not, right, the Angels, the last time they did make the playoffs, they were the best regular season team in baseball. They ended up losing, I believe, to the Royals in a 3-game sweep that year as the Royals made it to the World Series for the first time in nearly 3 decades. So the problem is they just weren't able to surround he and Shohei with enough talent. They tried to spend money. They just poorly spent money for the most part. And Artie Moreno couldn't get out of his own way. And talk to any Angels fan, i.e. Swilly, and they'll tell you it has been a tough last decade plus to be a fan of this franchise. But this will not turn into a Mike Trout situation because I don't think that Konnor Griffin's going to allow that to happen. Trout, who we know is an East Coast guy and grew up a Philly fan, has really found a place in Southern California that he and his wife and his family love. And that, for whatever reason, has superseded his... I got to be careful here because I don't want to speak for him. But it feels like he probably, if he had gone up to the ownership and bitched up a storm, said, get me the hell out of here, even after signing that, $426 million extension, it probably could have worked somewhere along the lines a couple of years ago. It's not going to work now because I don't think anybody will pay to have Mike Trout, the type of Mike Trout we see right now, for that dollar figure, unless you just eat a substantial portion of the contract. Now, I don't think it'll work out right now. But Mike Trout, I don't think it's in his DNA to kind of muddy the waters. That's just who he is. I think he says, hey, I agreed to an extension. I'm going to see it through. So you can say whether that's right or wrong, but that's who he is. If Konnor Griffin does not like the way this organization's going to move, he's going to be a free agent when he's 28 years old. So he could say, screw it. Y'all didn't give me enough support. I'm out. I gave you 9 years. I did my job, but you didn't do yours. So I don't think this ends up like a Mike Trout situation. I don't think he's going to be in his early 30s and we're going to go, man, the Pirates really screwed him, because in my opinion, he'll be long gone if the organization doesn't hold up its end of the bargain.
Well, I think for the organization holding up their end of the bargain, it's just how will they allocate the money? Because I think step one has been spending the money, and it seems like they're moving in that right direction. Now the question is, like the Angels back in the 2010s and early 2020s, is do they spend it on the right players and right fit for their organization? And hopefully that's a yes, because I would love to see Konnor Griffin and Paul Skeens play in a playoff game at some point in Pittsburgh, because that atmosphere in PNC Park is awesome. So those fans deserve it. I really hope it doesn't become a Mike Trout situation. And I agree with you. I don't think it will be.
All right. So let us know, how does this play out? How excited are you to see Konnor Griffin? I know that Plouffe, he's always a little more lukewarm on prospects coming up to the show than I am. And that's probably because he has lived it and he knows how tough it can be. The rest of us were all like, oh yeah, he's going to do great. I don't know, scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for his kind of immediate future to follow him over the next few weeks?
10. I mean, this is a major storyline. I think it does make Pittsburgh a little bit more relevant on the offensive side of the ball. Like if he comes in and starts raking, like that's a huge change to Pittsburgh. And like, look at last year with Kurtz coming into the A's. He struggled for the first 3 weeks. And after that became one of the best hitters in baseball already. Right. So if Konnor Griffin has that type of impact, it changes the entire complexion of the Pirates season for 2026.
Yeah, no, I would put it at least a 9, maybe a 10. I will be double screening because my Guardians play at exactly the same time as the Pirates. So I'm super excited to watch him do his thing. By the way, baseball, let's fix the schedule a little bit. I know we only had 4 scheduled games on Thursday. One of them got rained out in Chicago. I know that the early part of the year can get a little dicey because you play a game, then you sit out because of you're expecting bad weather, all that sort of stuff. We can't only have like 8 teams playing this early in the season. We got to get a little more momentum going, a little bit more. Just figure that out. Something else I just want to throw on their plate. All right, so a lot to talk about with Konnor Griffin, a lot to talk about the Braves' fast start, the Mets' slow start. Anything else you want to put in there in the comments, let's fire it away. All right, today's episode, it's sponsored by MLB 9 Innings. Hey, if you're someone who's always checking scores or thinking about your lineup, this is one of those games that just fits right into your day. MLB 9 Innings lets you build your own team with over 2,000 player cards. Everything is fully up to date. Rosters, uniforms, ballparks, all of it. And of course, Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. There are a bunch of ways to play, too. You can grind through a full season in league mode or jump into live PvP if you want more of a challenge. They've also added some awesome historic players, right? Joe Mauer, Hoyt Wilhelm, check him out. Clayton Kershaw, welcome. Jim Thome, Barry Larkin. And seriously, if you haven't seen the new trailer yet, it's worth a peek. Check it out on YouTube. Download and play MLB 9 Innings 26 today using the link in the description. Go have a blast. All right, Royals. They lost to the Twins during a little day ball on Thursday, and that is important because of the sidebar, which really was the result of the game. The main story is what happened with the young Royals catcher Carter Jensen. He was scratched from the lineup. He overslept. That caused Salvador Perez to catch on short notice. Here is first Jensen and then Royals first baseman Vinny Pasquantino.
I mean, no run from it. Just didn't wake up to my alarm, slept through it. Don't really have an excuse, nor should I. It sucks, happened. Feel like I let teammates down. coach is down. So, just learn from it and just know it won't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, you got a 36-year-old catcher who's preparing to DH today, and then his world gets a little rocked that an hour and a half before the game, he's not going to be DHing. So, credit to Salvi today for being ready. First and foremost, we're glad Carter's okay, right? I mean, that was kind of the initial thought when you're trying to get a hold of his parents and everything like that to just make sure everything's okay. But once you find out he's okay, it's like, all right, it's a growing moment. He's really young. There are some things that cannot happen, and that's one of them. So he's going to have to wear it on the chin, same way anybody would have to. So it can't happen. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. But it's one of those things that you can't afford mistakes like that in this game. So just gotta move forward the best that he can. I know he feels really bad. I know that it was not his favorite drive to the field this morning, but it wasn't our favorite morning either. Trying to figure out what was going on. So, he'll learn from it, and grow up a little bit, and we're here for him though. It's not like anybody's mad at him. Things happen, but you got to learn from mistakes like that, and maybe get another alarm clock or something at home.
There are some who are saying that maybe Vinny Pasquantino was a little too tough on his young teammate publicly. Do you agree?
No, actually, I don't. I first off, I'm a little surprised the situation came to light. Sometimes when something like that happens, I would just assume a team would say he was scratched and maybe not elaborate onto why. Earlier this week, it happened in Boston where Carlos Narvaez was scratched and Cora didn't speak upon it. He basically said, let's just keep it between me and Carlos, and he understands. And that was the end of it. And there's no headlines talking about that situation in Boston, whatever it may be, because they kind of just said, hey, we're not going to talk about it. It is what it is. We're going to move on. As for this current Royals situation, I'm a little bit surprised that it came to light just because in-house, like Quatraro was, Matt Quatraro, the Royals manager, was the person to mention to the media that Carter Jensen overslept. It's not like the Royals media had broke the news to him or like sources have said he overslept or whatever. So I'm a little surprised this situation came to light overall. Like, I'm going to go back to football, Rosie. I used to work in football centuries ago. Whenever you have a disagreement with like your head coach, you don't do it in the team meeting. You don't do it when the coaches are meeting. You talk to the side, you talk to him on the side and kind of handle your business there. I'm a little surprised that this situation came to light, but for Vinny Pasquantino, when he's asked about it, I think he's very respectable, very respectful of the whole situation. He says, hey, first off, this is tough on Salvi. Salvador Perez, a potential future Hall of Famer in the sport who's 36 years old. Instead of DHing, he's going to have to catch again on quick notice like that. So Salvi being a great professional. But at the end of the day, Pasquantino says, look, it's a growing moment. He's a rookie. He's a young guy. He's learning the ropes in Major League Baseball and what to do, what not to do scheduling-wise. I think he handles this situation perfectly. It's a learning situation for Jensen. And he says, no one's mad at you, but we got to grow through it as a team and as a player.
By the way, I apologize. I said Jansen like Danny Jansen. It's Jensen. I guess I didn't get enough sleep last night, so that's my fault. Yeah, and for people that are saying, well, Salvi should just be ready. I mean, like, what happens if, Jensen gets hit by a foul tip and he's got to go into the game? Yeah, I mean, that sort of stuff happens. But when you are preparing to be the catcher instead of the DH, that's very different. For people who don't know, you're talking about meetings. You're talking about sitting and going over game plans with the starting pitcher and making sure that he's comfortable with everything that he's about to face. So it's a different way of going about your business when you are the starting catcher as opposed to either having the day off, a scheduled day off, or being the DH. So just so that we're out there and we know that. As far as Jensen, I thought he did a nice job standing at his locker and answering everything. Good for him. That's what you need to do. You can't run and hide from it. Mm-hmm. As he said, there are no excuses. He actually joked that maybe I've got to go get, a million extra alarms, perhaps. The Vinny stuff, usually I'm a let's keep it in the clubhouse sort of deal. But I think this is a topic where we can all kind of relate to this, right? This is not, all of us have had to be somewhere early in the morning. Some people have overslept. And, if you're part of a team and you miss something, you're screwing somebody else. Your inability to take care of your shit affects someone. And that's Vinny's deal. Like he said, thank God he's okay. Because, by the way, I lived through a moment, unfortunately, where Darryl Kyle was not. I mean, I was on the air doing Fox Sports Radio the day that he passed away, where they were like, well, maybe he overslept. And you kept hearing these things, and that shit can be scary when teammates don't know where somebody is. Weird stuff happens in a clubhouse. I've been around teams where somebody has not shown up. I've been a part of a show where we had a cast member that did not show up. We thought he was in deep trouble. So we might laugh about it. That stuff turns very serious very quickly when you're supposed to show up. Now that you know he's okay, you sit there and you say, how the hell does this happen, dude? How does this happen? You are a major leaguer. You are a professional. This is your job. See the other 25 guys in this room? You owe it to them. And he did. He said he went up and he started apologizing right away. And they're not going to hold it against him. As Vinny said, it's a growing moment. And I don't mind him getting aired out. I think we're too protective of people, particularly on something like this, right? This isn't the worst thing in the world, but well, now that it's out there on social media and we know it happened, I can't wait for the road fans when he has a 2 or 3 strikeout game and he's walking back to the dugout and they're going to be like, does somebody need more sleep?
Do you think, Rosie, when Royals play on the road, opposing stadiums, like when it's a 2-strike count, you know how they do horns? Maybe they do like an alarm clock noise instead?
Absolutely. Well, did you see the Twins' social media today?
No.
Because I think it's their home opener. They took a picture of the iPhone alarm, where you flip it over to the green. They're like, don't forget to set your alarms. So they were, they really got it. They really got him.
That's good.
I don't know. Let us know. Maybe we're off base. Both of us like that Vinny Pasquantino said something. And let's remember, Vinny, how many times during the World Baseball Classic did we hear the Italian, whether it was Francisco Cervelli, the other coaches on the team, and certainly the players, said that Vinny is our leader? But he is starting to grow into that. He's taking on more of a stance. He's more comfortable. We've always known him here at John Boy Media as a really funny guy and a great talker and super entertaining. He is ready to take over that role from Salvador Perez. Like, it still might be the C on Salvi's jersey. This guy is the next one in line as long as they extend him and take care of him financially. I think it's pretty interesting. There's one other thing, speaking of social media. All the teams are coming out with content, which is great. We love it. This is what we do as a business, so you're always asking those fun questions. We do it on Dugout Discussions, Questions with the Queen. Well, during spring training, the Royals actually asked their players, how many alarms do you set? So you're going to hear several players, and then the last one is actually going to be Carter. Listen.
I'd say 1 alarm, snooze it a couple times.
I said 2. Or 1. It depends on the night before.
0 to 1. Barry wakes me up.
I set 1 alarm and I wake up as soon as it goes off.
It's embarrassing.
Here comes Carter.
I need at least 6 to 8 alarms. It's not good.
6 to 8 alarms, as he was joking in spring training. Somebody has an alarm issue.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to wake up after the first one. I guess he can't, and hopefully he moves on from it. Will be good.
You know what the Royals should do? They should all call him and make sure that he's awake on their next road trip. That's what I would do. I would have everybody that's on that trip, manager, coaches, players, all just keep calling him one after another. Hey, you up? You up? That way he laughs. They show it's part of the team. You only make fun of the ones that you love, the whole bit. That's what I'd do.
Agreed.
So,
love it.
All right. Speaking of oversleeping, we are now heading into the second weekend of the season. Which team needs a little wake-up call?
I mentioned them briefly in this Carter Jensen section, but I'm going with the Boston Red Sox, Rosie. They're currently 1-5. They're already 4 games back in the AL East behind their rival New York Yankees. They have a 5-game losing streak, opening their home opener today. Last series, they had a 1-0 lead in the top of the first versus the Astros, their only lead of the series, and then the Astros scored 2 in the bottom of the first, so they just got absolutely dominated in that series. They have the 3rd worst run differential in baseball through 6 games right now. Their 1-5 start is their worst start since 2019. A lot of red flags early for the Boston Red Sox. Look at that pun, red flag, Red Sox. I think, once again, it's early, but I think my biggest concerns is some of the acquisitions that the Red Sox made this offseason have not gotten off to good starts. Caleb Durbin, 0 for 18 so far to begin his Boston tenure. Wilson Contreras, a 150 average, a sub 500 OPS. Sonny Gray and Ranger Suarez both gave up 4 runs. Both didn't make it through 5 innings in their Red Sox debut. Some concerns early on. Boston's got to wake up. The one guy in that rotation who kind of woke up was Konnor early, and I'm excited to see what he does this season. I think he's going to be a future stud in this league. But right now, Boston does not look like the Red Sox that we know. And their offense, Rosie, they're tied for last in runs scored. It's basically the Wilyer Abreu show, has half of their home runs so far this season. Boston's got to wake up. It's a good time for the home opener, get in front of their fans, and start the season right now.
Okay, Shea Langeliers, you may move forward in this video. The rest of the A's, listen up. What the hell is going on out there? It has been horrific. They're going to get back for their home opener, but they have been the strikeout kings. They're averaging 12 strikeouts per game. They are scoring less than 3 runs per game. Langeliers has 5 of their 6 homers. Nick Kurtz, amazing a year ago. 1 for 17 with 11 strikeouts. Brent Rooker has struck out 12 of his 24 at-bats. They're tied, I believe, with Boston as the lowest scoring team in the American League. They have the lowest OPS in all of baseball. And you know what? I was asked, hey, who's really that kind of fun team that you like to watch? And I say, when I'm flipping around, if the Guardians aren't playing and I'm locked in on them, and I'm flipping around and the A's are up at the plate, I'll stop and watch them. Mm-hmm. Super fun. They've extended half of that, half of their position players already. I buy in. Like, they're not the best team because their pitching is, let's be honest, it ain't great. But the hitting, come on, guys, let's make this fun. Let's make the Athletics fun again. I don't know what the hell acronym that can turn into. I don't really care. But start hitting the goddamn baseball. You can start by hitting it over the fence this weekend, because it has not been enjoyable watching you. You have 1 freaking win so far. I get it. Toronto, tough place to start the year. Atlanta, not easy with that pitching when you have to face Sale, etc. Let's go. Let's go. I came to your defense. Rosie, that's some of my favorite players in the sport.
Rosie, this is a team that was one of the best offenses last year, 5th in average, 7th in home runs, 8th in OPS. That wasn't the part of the A's that we thought would struggle. Right. This is supposed to be the good portion of the A's. And they set the strikeout record, I think, in a series. First, the Blue Jays earlier in the season already. Can't happen. I want them to be good too. Let's go. Boston's got to wake up. A's got to wake up. It's time to start the season over again.
All right, Dalty, before we get out of here, give me one pitching matchup that'll happen over the next 3 days that you would actually pay to watch.
This may come as a surprise. I am picking an Angels pitching matchup, which is crazy because they've had pitching issues. I know. I am going with Brian Wu taking on Reed Detmers this weekend. And let's start with Brian Wu. Let's start with what we know. Brian Wu, absolute stud. I still think he's somehow one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball. Last year, 2.94 ERA, 0.93 WHIP. 186 innings, 5th in AL Cy Young voting. That fastball graded out as one of the best pitches in baseball. Let me say that again. His fastball graded out as one of the best pitches in baseball. He had a great walk rate last year. Brian Wu is a stud. I every time he pitches, I want to watch because he is becoming one of the faces of pitchers in baseball, in my opinion, with that crowded Mariners rotation. But let's go to the Angels. Reed Detmers. I know that could be a crazy pick. But Reed Detmers, last couple of years, it's been a wild one. 2024 in the rotation, had lots of struggles, was sent down to AAA. Last year was moved to the bullpen. They're like, hey, he's a lefty. He's got good stuff. Let's move him to the bullpen. They bring him back into the rotation this year. They bring in Mike Maddox, pitching coach, who is one of the best pitching coaches in baseball in the 21st century. He was with the Rangers last year. That team, spoiler alert, had the best rotation ERA in baseball. So he's got a big task with this Angels rotation. But Reed Detmers specifically, he looked pretty good in his first start. 9 Ks and 4 2/3. He's 1 out away from getting out of it. 16 whiffs. The velo is down. But Rosie, sometimes you got to get past the eye test, right? And right now, Reed Detmers, when I watched him pitch, looked pretty good, and I'm hopeful. I want to give the Angels some hope. Shout out Swilly again. But I think Reed Detmers could be a good pitcher in baseball. Mind you, in 2022, he threw a no-hitter for the Los Angeles Angels.
Sure did.
The stuff is there. I think this could be a sneaky pitching matchup to watch this weekend.
Number one on my list are a pair of former number 2 overall picks. Jack Leiter, who was the second overall selection in 2021, going against Chase Burns of the Cincinnati Reds, who was the number 2 overall pick a couple of years ago in that vaunted 2024 draft, of which Konnor Griffin was a part, and will make his major league debut later today. Now, as for Burns, he's coming off of his first show win. He actually did pitch 13 games. I think he got 8 starts, a handful of relief appearances last year. Might have been the other way around. But he is a strikeout artist already. Last year, he averaged 13, almost 14 Ks per 9. So he might not give you a lot of length, but when he is out there, he can be a ton of fun to watch. He's got a little bit of that leg kick. Okay, a little follow through, like he's got a little showmanship out there. I'm digging it. As for Jack Leiter, I talked about him earlier this week, and I wonder if he's the next pitcher that takes that monumental leap. He actually pitched a full slate last year. He made 29 starts. His problem has always been his walk rate. And the thing I loved about his first start against Baltimore this year, 8 strikeouts in 6 innings, only 1 walk. So if he can find home plate, and I don't know if it's a genetic thing. I used to kill his dad, Al, when I worked with him at MLB Network. As great a career as Al had, and he almost pitched 20 years in the show, and was a multi-time World Series champion and a multi-time All-Star, I believe. He was all over the place. Like, he used to throw, when he first came up, he was a hard thrower. Like, he was mid-90s. And I know people be like, mid-90s? What? But when, I'm telling you, in the early 90s, when guys were just getting going, that was hard. They were like, who's this hard-throwing lefty? Well, he could never find the plate. So it has taken his son a little bit of time, but I think he's going to fit in so nicely behind Eovaldi and DeGrom down there in that Texas rotation. So that's one of those young guys, and I'm not overpaying for those tickets. Like, if you're like, I might have to use like a SeatGeek discount code, but I'm going to go. So, Dalty, how much baseball are you going to watch this weekend?
A lot. I mean, that's the way to keep up with it, right? Like, especially tracking it for talking baseball. And you know what, Rosie? I think I will send you some of those notes. How about that? I'll help you out. You want it so bad. I'll send you a packet just for you.
Wow.
Sift through it. Enjoy. Maybe I don't share it to Trev and see how he does.
No. We're a team here, but I don't want to guilt you into sharing. I want this to come from the heart.
Of course, Rosie.
Okay.
Come on now. I got you.
Just making sure. You gonna be ready for ball and play next week?
Yeah, I get to see you next week in person. That's going to be awesome. I'm excited, man. I'm a ball and play guy. It's one of the more unique sports in the warehouse, and I'm ready to go. It's always a blast seeing everybody.
Awesome. That'll be fun. Thanks for filling in today, brother. You always do a great job. You're a good baseball brain. You're a good kid. I love your effort, your grinding, and the manager would like to see you because you gave us some innings today, but unfortunately, we got to make a roster move. So Trevor Plouffe will be back on Monday, but still, you were awesome today. So we're not going to take away the shine on you. You were fantastic.
Good 2026 debut. Thank you.
Excellent. And you get service time credit for this show as well, although no additional funds. Yeah. So for our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, this is the uber talented and super intelligent Dalton Feely. I am Chris Rose. Have a wonderful baseball weekend. We will see you Monday here on Baseball Today.